hysterically in front of the mirror. First of all, I want to thank Rosie for inviting me to speak here this evening at Spiritualist Church of Awareness. When Rosie approached me, I said, Rosie, I'm just so honored. She said, don't be, Jerry, I'm desperate. So anyway, and I'd like to say she didn't say that, but she did. So anyway, so tonight here's the thought, right? Maybe a question for us to think about. Do we wage war against enemies that don't exist? You know, I've been thinking about that an awful lot. And hopefully, I'm sure Spirit will tie it all in and come full circle with it. And so, I am in the second phase of editing of my first book. And I never really intended to write a book. Quite honestly, I don't read a whole lot of books. Books have never been my friend, where my wife, Mary, just devours everything. But a few years ago, I started reading more and more books, and Spirit said, well, put your thoughts together and compile this book. So that's what I've done. And so I had some friends over, Mary and I had some friends over, and one of the friends said, well, is your book spiritual or is it metaphysical? And I went, I don't know, it's a good question. I guess it's kind of both. And so I thought, you know, I'll put those two words together and see just what comes out. And so I said, okay, is it a metaphysically spiritual book? And I thought, that sounds kind of cool. Or let me switch the words around, is it a spiritual metaphysical book? And I went, spiritual metaphysics. Nobody's ever thought of that before. I went online. Yeah, great. Thousands of people, maybe millions of people have thought of that before. And I still can't describe exactly a definition of spiritual metaphysics, but it got me thinking about labels. And I'm not going to give a grandiose lecture here on labels. Labels are necessary. Labels give us information. Labels define things for us. But folks, I'm here to tell you, labels also define us. I think every war, think about it, every war that's ever been fought on this earth plane, whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime, has been fought with some type of disagreement with ideology. You know, it's politics, religion, economics. And where does that ideology start with? It starts with a label, you know. We live in a dualistic world and have for centuries, and all that simply means is we choose between one of two, we have two options, you know. We shouldn't think dualistically, there's more options than just two, but we do. Think about it, heaven and hell, true or false, yes or no. And when we look at people who aren't exactly like us or don't have the gifts that we have, we come up to one conclusion. You know, we only have two options, right? Either you're with us or you're against us. And if you're not like us, you're against us. I mean, take religion. I kind of grew up a little bit Methodist. I mean, we weren't really regular churchgoers, but my brother's a Methodist minister. And, you know, my father was big in the Methodist church, so we went to the Methodist church for a number of years. Even in the Methodist church, there's different divisions. And even in the Baptist church, there's different divisions. I don't know, is anybody here Baptist or current Baptist? I was going to say, if you are, you have taken a wrong turn, my friend, off the road. Because people here speak to people who have crossed over. So you're probably going to catch on fire here in just a few seconds. But all the divisions within different religions. And you know, you think about it, I mean, the Muslims at times fight against the Christians, who fight against the Jews, who fight against the Hindus. And the one group who escapes, sitting there going, or the atheist, who's sitting there going, how cool is it to be an atheist these days? Well, until that thing called the rapture comes along, then and so anyway. But think about it. These labels divide us. And so what does that got to do with, you know, with creating enemies, you know? Think about the gifts, and that's really what I want to talk about tonight, is the gifts. You know, I developed my gifts late in life. A lot of you developed your gifts much, much earlier than I did. I developed my gifts, as Reverend Jeannie told me, when Spirit said it was time to develop your gifts. So I developed my gifts just 4 or 5 years ago, unlike psychic, medium, clairvoyance, and things like that. And I'm thankful for those gifts. But I may touch a few nerves here. And unfortunately, it's documented because she's taping it. But think about it. I mean, you know, mediums attack psychics. Psychics attacks mediums. They both attack clairvoyance, right? Mediums say of psychics, you're con artists, and all you do is prey on the innocent and relieve people of the many curses that they have. And they're a con artist. Then the psychics turn around and go, well, you mediums, you're just grief vampires, and you know, you don't really connect to loved ones. You know, and it's just this. It's just this all the time. And the clairvoyants are going, well, hey, we kind of escaped. And they go, no, the clairvoyants, you see images and pictures, and you're not specific, so you charge money. And you see what I'm saying? It's just these gifts. A gift from God is a gift from God, period. A gift from infinite intelligence, if it's a true gift, is a gift from infinite intelligence. And whether we say God, the universe, spirit, infinite intelligence, a higher being, the divine, they're gifts for us to use. Yes, we have to be developed. You know, like teachers, I love the classes I took here. Now, Jeannie, I think, went into therapy after each class that I attended here. I would see her walking out of the church just going, oh, just muttering to herself, just shaking her head. But I love the classes that I took here, and if you haven't taken the classes here, I don't know when the next, I highly encourage you to do that. And so we learn about these gifts, right? We all say we're all connected. Remember, Jeannie just a while ago said, shows you I was paying attention, that we're all connected in her, we all have blessings that God provides us. We need to count our blessings, and she said we're all connected. Yet, I don't know, half the time we really believe that we're all connected. And yet we are. You know, you look at the other side, what I've learned about the other side, they go, you know, we don't care if you're male or female. We really don't. We don't care if you're gay, you're straight, you're bisexual, transgender. We really don't. We see spirit. We see light. We don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or, you know, the Green Party or Libertarian. We really don't care. It's not that important. We don't care if you're liberal or conservative or moderate or whatever label. Because remember, we have to have labels, right? Because we have to have kind of it's almost like we're the military, right? And God bless the military, but it's almost like, by golly, we gotta have an enemy. You know, we got guns, so by golly, we gotta shoot them at somebody. And boy, that sounded horrible the way I just said that. Anyway. But you get the idea. You know, we really do have enemies. There really is evil. There really is dark energies. There really is the dark side. And sometimes the enemies we look at, they're not enemies. They're just different than us. You know, they have a different label. And that's okay, you know. You know, look at the gifts. You know, my upbringing in Methodist Church is a little bit about, you know, the story of Jesus, right? And it was 3 kings, not 1 king. Now, if it was 1 king, the carols wouldn't have a whole lot of impact. We, 1 king of, you know, so that doesn't go well. But think about it, the 3 gifts, they bring 3 gifts, right? Not just 1, but 3. So now we're in the house of spiritualism. And what is spiritualism based upon? It's based upon the number 3. It's a science, philosophy, and religion. Everything in this world centers around like a number. I'm not a numerology expert, but it's gifts. You have gifts here. The Catholic Church has gifts. The Protestant Church has. Every religion has equal value. Every religion has gifts. If we just quit beating each other over the head with my gift can kick your gifts, but you really don't have gifts. You just pretend to have gifts. I'm really the one that has gifts. That's how the conflict begins. I mean, you with me so far? Yeah, you're just waiting for your messages. I know you people. All right, so I don't blame you. Gee, you got the expert. Really, in closing, because I really started to write this talk, and then midway I just stopped. You know, and I just sat back there and I listened to the meditation. I listened to the healing part. And I just let my thoughts, I let Spirit, God, Universe just take my thoughts where they're going to go. And as my wife said sometimes, it's a scary place with Jerry where his thoughts go. But think about it. If our beliefs drive our behavior, and we believe that someone who has a different label, someone who has a different gift, someone who has a different origin, they're not as good as us, if that's our belief, that's going to drive our behaviors. And the only thing that can change our behaviors are beliefs. You believe that we're all blessed. You know, count your blessings. That's what Jeannie said a while ago. Count the blessings. That's a great song, I think it's in this book, Count Your Blessings One by One. You know, we always say we're thankful, but are we really thankful? You know, look at the world, and we can come in here and we can worship, and we don't have to dump bombs or bullets or anything, and, you know, unbelievable blessings. And it's time to quit pointing fingers at people that maybe have different gifts than us, and I'm at the head of that list. It's time to not label people because they think differently, because they have different religions, or because they were brought up different. You know, the gifts you have are more than just one. I firmly believe that. I believe everybody has multiple gifts. I think at least 3. There's that number 3 again. And all I would ask is that I would challenge us, and that includes me at the head, to take off the borders and the boundaries, and not let anybody define the borders and the boundaries of the gifts that God has given you. Because the minute you keep those gifts in a box, the minute you draw borders and boundaries around it, you're labeled. And again, labels are good for definition, labels are good for information, but labels shouldn't divide us. These gifts that you all have, that we all have, are meant to help people. And only by taking those borders and boundaries off can we go out and truly do what God, what the universe, what Spirit wants us to do. Amen. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Spirit.